Now we all have heard what happened with Kanye West. I ain't gonna even sit here and and walk y'all through it. I will definitely play a little bit of the song so that we all can know what he said if you haven't heard it. But everybody has heard what Kanye West said yesterday. He had a tweet that went beyond viral. He said something very, very alarming and very triggering for a lot of people. So he says, this song called Cousin about my cousin that's locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years after I told him we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. Perhaps in my self centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6, and then we acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found in the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I sucked my cousin's dick till I was 14. For me, I heard that and I instantly was like, just like, whoa, what the hell? That was terrible to hear that they experienced that as children. I didn't go to blaming or shaming Kanye in this instance for what happened because it happened when he was a child. And I know that this stuff happens a lot with little kids. Not to excuse it. I'm just saying, like, I know that it's actually an issue that we need to talk about more. So I didn't deem it necessary to shame him for what he did when he was a child. You know, as far as I know, they were around the same age. I actually think that he was a year younger from something that I read. I've been trying to find information on how old his cousin was. He was 6 when it happened. How old was Kanye? Is a cousin older, younger? I don't know. He said he did it up until the age of 14. I, there's a lot of moving pieces there, but to me, my best guess is they were both children. They were both young children, and you know, he did this to his cousin. Right? He committed these acts on his cousin, and he was exposed to this content at a way too early age. Do I think that this made him gay or no? I don't. I don't. I don't. If he's gay, he's gay. And I don't know if he was ever I also know of lyrics where he referenced like being touched by an uncle. Who knows? I don't want to make any allegations about anything. We can come to whatever conclusions we want to come to. This is not even the part that I necessarily want to focus on, but I did want to address that real quick because we don't have enough information. Like I said, if he was 14 and his cousin was 6, absolutely whatever. But if they're around the same age, I don't feel like we should be shaming him. That's all I'm saying. And since I don't have the information, I'm not going to pile on to that, and I'm leaving that there. I want to talk about Kanye as a grown adult man, though. I want to talk about how this can be tied into a larger issue with Kanye, and that issue is how he treats women.
Hanging with my cousin, reading dirty magazines. We seen two niggas kiss and we ain't know what that shit mean. Then we start reenacting everything that we had seen. That's when I gave my cousin head, gave my cousin head, gave my cousin head, I gave my cousin head, I gave my cousin head.
That's the song in question. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? There it goes. He said it out of his own mouth. It could either be a vulnerable moment for him, seems like it is. But it's still something that we gotta unpack because now Kanye has, and I don't mean like today, but I'm saying like probably for a very long time, he has been nothing short of terrible to pretty much every woman that he has been publicly romantically involved with.
Domestic violence isn't just about physical harm, like hitting, pushing, or slamming someone's head into a wall. It's also the emotional and psychological abuse that leaves invisible scars, often far more devastating than the physical ones. It's the relentless humiliation, the degrading comments, and the calculated efforts to erode a person's self worth.
Now that I've seen all of this information come out and I've heard the song and all of that stuff, I think that Kanye I think that Kanye is very much, or could be, I don't know if he is. I think that Kanye is struggling with his sexuality, obviously. And I think that he made BDL, and the way that Kanye treats women is very indicative of the way that a lot of DL men treat women. From what I've heard women say about men that they found out were DL after the fact, they are very abusive. I knew a man. He was a boy back in the day. He was older than me, but we were, but he was a boy back then, but he's a man now. But I knew a person when I was growing up. He would have the most attractive women. Like, he would get the most like, man, like all of his girlfriends were ridiculously attractive. I was around him enough, and he was treating them so bad. Like, every single time I was around him, he would be arguing with them. He'd be putting them down. And I was young. Like, I didn't understand like narcissistic abuse or nothing. I just used to see them arguing all the time. Like, I remember one time we went to a water park together, and it was like him, his little brother, me, and his girl. And man, he was yelling at her. He like wouldn't buy her anything. And it was just crazy. Like, I was a teenager. He was in his early 20s. And yeah, but I just, like, I didn't connect anything at that time. Then a few years later, I was talking to one of our like neighborhood friends, and he was like, oh yeah, such and such, he got busted out for being gay. He got exposed for being gay or being on the DL or whatever. And I was like, whoa, and then it all, like, right when he said that, it clicked. And it was funny because my brother actually said that about him, had a suspicion about him years, like way before I heard that story. He was like, man, I wouldn't be surprised if that dude is DL. My brother's 6 years older than me. So, you know what I'm saying? He's a little bit more advanced, or at the time he was, at least. And, I didn't put two and two together. And then, like I said, come to find out, he actually got exposed for being gay. He was like on like some like a party line type stuff. And, he was talking to some men. The men got back to the neighborhood. There were some dudes from our neighborhood, and the men from the neighborhood exposed him, whatever. So ever since then, I've been like aware of the way that men who are DL treat women oftentimes. And it's because they are struggling with their own sexuality. And I believe that what they do is in an effort to downplay or to hide their homosexuality, they become overtly misogynistic. They become extremely abusive to women. They also hate the fact that they can't, live their truth. And then they end up taking it out on the woman in the relationship that, that they're in with the woman at the time. That's what I think is happening. Now, that may be just, you know what I'm saying? I think I have like an elementary understanding of this, but that is my assessment thus far from what I have experienced when I, from hearing people and listening to, and like I said, seeing how they treat their significant others. And Kanye really reminds me of my childhood, the guy that I knew from my neighborhood. He really reminds me of him. Like, he covets the most beautiful women. And I know a lot of men do, but Kanye does it in a different way. And how he treats the women like mannequins, how he wants to dress them up and control them, and he wants to present them to the world in a certain way, right? And it's all rooted in how they look, because a lot of DL men, I believe, they think that that people will, and a lot of men actually do this. The more attractive the woman they can get, the less likely people are to believe that they are homosexual. And it's dumb, but it's true. I do think that they have made that calculation in their brain. And like I said, it actually is true for a lot of men, because what you will hear from men is, if a man is exposed in any way, it could be DL, it could be pedo, it could be an SA, it doesn't matter. If a man is exposed, if you have seen that man be with attractive women, or you've seen that man even get women consistently, men will go, man, what you talking about? Man, he can have any woman on the planet. Why would he touch on that girl? Man, he can have any woman on the planet. There ain't no way he laid hands on her. That's what a lot of men will believe about these men. So yeah, he is definitely playing into that, hoping to mask it. That's what I believe. This is what I believe, without a doubt.
It's very sad, honestly. Yes, the whole Kanye situation is very sad. It makes sense why he was calling Cardi and Drake F-kits. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. The slur. It all makes sense why he was being so homophobic. Because this whole time he's been battling homosexuality. I mean, because if you were doing something like that up until you were 14, you kind of know what you like. So it is to say that Kanye kind of liked doing what he was doing with his cousin. But I'm not here to make jokes about the whole situation.
I don't agree with that. I don't. Again, I think he was a child. I honestly believe he was a child when it happened. I don't think he was a teenager and he was doing it. I don't think he was away. I really don't believe that. So I don't like that take because we don't know at this point. I just think we don't need to say stuff like that. So I disagree with that.
Because really, this is something that a lot of adults actually face, and they don't have the courage, they don't have the circle to talk about this kind of situations that happen when you're young.
I can actually see what he was saying as far as like the connection between Kanye, using once again, he does it with women and he does it with men. He overcompensates for his own tendencies, his own habits, his own preferences or whatever. He's struggling with it. And to cover that up, he'll go out of his way to be overtly misogynistic to people that don't like. It's like, why are you like, what? Why are you doing that? So calling people F slurs out of nowhere unnecessarily, going on rants about men, being gay, or going on rants about himself not being gay, and trying to downplay it and all of that stuff. I think that all of that is connected. No doubt about it. No question about it. I don't know the validity of this. I saw the message from Jeffree Star, but I don't know if it's, I remember when they first said it, when Jeffree Star first said it, I initially was like, but I didn't put it past him because men be gay. I would never stand up for Kanye. Kanye is not gay because A, what's wrong with being gay? First and foremost. And secondly, men be gay all the time. People be gay all the time. So yeah, not a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. That's the thing. I want it to be normal. I want men and women and whoever, if however you feel, however you want to express yourself sexually, I want you to be able to do that. I think gender is dumb. I know it's dumb. I don't think it's dumb. I know it's dumb and I know it's destructive. So I'm not here to I'm not here to judge anybody in this scenario. I'm not necessarily a fan of Jeffree Star's brand, but I really have no reason to not believe Jeffree Star. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say I do, but I'm saying I mean, again, men be gay. So not really that crazy to believe that Kanye West is gay. Not that crazy to believe that he slept with Jeffree Star. Not that crazy. I know Jeffree Star I know his brand. That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that will give you pause. If this was like any other man, you would have zero reason to not believe them. But it's Jeffree Star. You have a little bit of a reason not to believe Jeffree Star, right?
Breaking news and gag order. Jeffree Star is seemingly alluding and confirming the rumors that she and Kanye West had a relationship. That pause is because I was trying to figure out in my head what pronouns they use, but let's get into this tea. By now, we all know that yesterday on Easter Monday, Kanye West made the shocking revelation that he had an incestuous relationship with one of his cousins. If you haven't seen it, you can pause the video and read for yourself. This is a tweet where he revealed he had an incestuous relationship with one of his cousins, and he had to tell the cousin that they could not view Korn magazines together anymore. That cousin that he had that relationship with would go on to be incarcerated for unaliving a pregnant woman. But back to Jeffree Star. After Kanye West unleashed his tea, Jeffree Star decided to chime in. Jeffree Star tweeted, "Oh fuck it, the rumors were true." If you're wondering what the rumors were, is that Jeffree Star had a relationship with Kanye during the production of his album Ye. Kanye West was producing the album Ye in Wyoming. At the time, he was having relationship issues with Kim, and Jeffree Star was in Wyoming at the same time. There were a lot of rumors at the time that there was something going on between the two. This confirmation is also opening up the door for the rumors of other male lovers that Kanye may have had in the past. For so many years, people speculated that Kanye West had a relationship with designer Riccardo Tisci.
Gorgeous, though. They're going to, what's Kanye's friend's name at Givenchy? Riccardo Tisci. They went to Kanye's designer friend's fashion show. I would have flown back to California. I'd be like, Kanye, you go to your friend's fashion show.
The rumors at this time were that Kanye kept
Wendy was the shadiest. She would throw the most shade. That shit was crazy.
leaving for Paris while Kim was pregnant to be with Ricardo.
I think that this is all linked. I think that his abusive treatment of women is linked to his, reluctancy to accept his sexuality and trying to uphold his image of being, mega rock star level god in the hip hop scene. And we know the hip hop scene is extremely homophobic. And we know Black culture is extremely homophobic. And we know American culture is extremely homophobic. So, yeah, I could completely see why he would hide this. And it's odd because he got into, a place where, they accept homosexuality, you know what I'm saying, way more. I'm sure there's still struggles, but in the fashion industry, you know, homosexuality is way it's accepted way more than in mainstream America. And he was in that area, you know what I mean? He's in that area, he's in that field. And, I'm sure that also made it worse, I guess, for him, better in some ways too, because he was around a lot of people who would accept him, a lot more people, but he couldn't, even around them, he still couldn't be himself fully. So I could see that making situations even more tumultuous for him and Kim and any other woman that he dealt with and deals with moving forward. And allegedly he got back with Bianca recently. So there's that. And hopefully he doesn't abuse her any further, but he clearly is abusive to her too, from my eyes. And he was abusive to Kim. I watched it on the show, how you try to control her. And I know that it would seem like she signed up for a lot of that stuff. Maybe she did, but he took it too far. And Amber Rose already spoke out about a lot of this and alluded to a lot of this stuff prior to this as well. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that from that angle because I don't know if many people are talking about it from that perspective. And I hope he heals up. I hope he does. But I don't really have any strong defenses of Kanye West in today's day and age because he has just burned every bridge. Even any good faith or any goodwill he had with me is out the window. But I did want to talk about this more from the broader aspect of men, because there's a lot of men who are like Kanye West in our community and in our world, and they end up internalizing the things that they aren't willing to accept about themselves and projecting that on everybody else. And it shows up in the most toxic of forms the vast majority of the time. And it needs to be addressed. It needs to end immediately.